Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are just about ready to get into Game 1 of this best-of-3 between Giants and Ascension.
Yeah, and this should be a cracking best-of-3 series, and what a storyline we have here building from these two teams. Ascension are a team created especially to take this tournament by storm. They are a Nordic East team, but they've got a couple of players that are doing very well on the EU West solo queue.
Right, so 3 of their players are actually from Lithuania, and these guys know each other from local tournaments, so there is some synergy there. But then we look at their top laner and AD carry, and as you just mentioned, Stress, they are from the top 10 of EU West. So while they're a team formed specifically for the purposes of the EU LCS expansion tournament, they should be able to have the synergy ready to head into this game against Giants.
And speaking of Giants, those of you familiar to the 2013 season of LCS will be familiar with the Giants organization, but it has been a long time since Giants have had a team that they feel is capable of making the LCS, and this lineup is their shot at 2015 season.
So we'll have to see which one of these teams emerge victorious, because while Giants have that big name behind them, new team as you mentioned, and Ascension, well, if we look at like the kind of track record between like EUNE and EU West, typically the EUNE teams don't do as well against the EU West teams, but there's a lot of hype surrounding the Ascension guys, even if you haven't heard too much about their roster. So I'm excited to see what happens as we head into Champion Select Picks and Bans.
Yes, indeed, and we are just moments away from the Picks and Bans phase, so we've already kind of looked down the rosters with our own research that we have been doing. A couple of big picks that we expect to be banned away here. Zed is going to be one of them, and I believe we also looked at a lot of focus on Lee Sin as that the jungler.
Yeah, so it was very interesting for the mid lane because the mid laner being Flezzer from the team of Ascension, he actually does play Zed. He likes his assassin mid laners, but we look at the opposing team of Giants, their mid laner does not like Zed. So they may just end up banning out because 1, he doesn't like the matchup, and 2, the opposing mid laner does actually play it.
Yeah, indeed. So we are expecting that to be a bit of a priority during the bans phase. We are just waiting on the teams to actually start the game. It looked like everybody was ready, but unfortunately, doesn't look like we're quite ready to go yet.
Yeah, we were just waiting for a couple minutes before this game started, so the teams are just getting ready, making sure everyone's in place before we get underway with this game.
But we talked a little bit to the guys from Ascension and kind of asked them what kind of style do they like to play, what are they expecting that Giants are going to play. And the one thing that everybody that we spoke to about Giants said they like to play these pick-heavy compositions. You look at a Twisted Fate, you look at a Jarvan, who is very good at catching somebody out, piling on a lot of aggression and picking them away, whereas Ascension, on the other hand, like to play teamfight-oriented teams. So again, that's something else to keep in mind as we head towards this game.
Yeah, and the Ascension lineup also have a couple curveball picks that they have in their repertoire ready to go. So I'm interested if they decide to bring any of those out. We do know in the bot lane that Angelus actually has a support that he is very, very fond of in solo queue. I think it's pretty public information that he knows, everyone knows that he is a Leona player. He plays a lot in solo queue, but he has specific circumstances in which he actually plays it into. So we'll see if this champion select is one of them.
Unfortunately, we do very quickly have to remake the lobby, which is a little unfortunate, but we'll pick up on the Leona that you mentioned there. So when picking Leona, he tends to actually like to pick it into Thresh, which seems counterintuitive. We talked to him about this, and we said, hey, normally you pick Thresh into Leona because you just flay Leona away as she Zenith Blades in. Actually, not the factor with Angelus talking about that pick. Instead, what Angelus likes is to pick Leona, as we said, into Thresh, while I try and get us into the lobby. And basically, it's all to do with a mid lane pick. If he's against an immobile mid laner, he is happy to pick Leona into that, get a couple of extra picks away using that Solar Flare post level 6. So he likes to roam a lot as well.
Right, so we've theorycrafted a lot about what we think is going to happen in picks and bans, but the only way to make certain for sure is to actually take a look at picks and bans. And we should be just a couple seconds away from getting into that one. So we've already talked about Giants a little bit. They're a lineup that is relatively new, but they're a full Spanish lineup, in fact. So while we have these 3 Lithuanians from the team of Ascension, the full Spanish lineup come in for Giants.
Yeah, indeed. And those of you that, keep a track on the streams that certain, challenger and pro players do, you might recognize the mid laner, Pepperino, or ex-Pepe, as he is currently in game.
Yeah.
We'll try not to get too messed up by that one, but you know, it does sound pretty similar. So I expect there's going to be a lot of two Pekes going around in chat once we get into this game.
Probably. I mean, you probably just started something stressed.
Yeah,
but,
sorry. I was trying to avoid that one, actually, but I ended up just saying it anyway. But, you know, he is a pretty well-renowned player when you look at all things considered. He has a decent stream following. He streams regularly as well. We were watching his stream just a couple of days ago. So he is a pretty high-profile player on the Giants lineup that, especially within the Spanish community, is very well liked.
The other interesting thing about these two teams in particular is Ascension actually scrimmed Giants just a couple of days before all the brackets were even mentioned. And then they were hoping that they would go into this tournament being like, no one knows us, no one knows how strong we are. And then everyone knows they are. So
yeah,
that's
now
kind of a problem.
The cat is out of the bag. And the other cat that's out of the bag is that we are into Champion Select. And what do you know? We were expecting these two to come out, and already two bans towards the mid lane.
Yes, indeed. Twisted Fate aims at X-Peppy in the mid lane, Zed as well on the other side. So we were talking about that earlier, and that will be banned away. Jarvan and Lee Sin will follow.
Well, currently we're 4 for 4 on, you know, high priority picks that we were expecting here. Yes, Lee Sin and Zed are red side high priority bans, but for this matchup specifically, we were definitely expecting them here.
Well, this is an interesting one, yeah. Yeah, so we do have the Rumble coming out here from the blue team, that being Ascension. They will be taking that away from the top lane.
Yeah, we weren't so much expecting Rumble bans. We've seen, you know, in European Challenger, we've seen a lot of Rumble being played. Not as the last ban makes a lot of sense. We've already talked a little bit about that, but Maokai instantly picked up in that top lane.
Yeah, interesting. So we'll see what they pick into that. We could maybe see a potential Irelia. We know in the top lane meta at the moment, it's all about the top lane meta as we head into 4.19, which is the patch we're playing on currently. So we do have a very fast lock-in of Thresh and Kha'Zix as well. Very decisive on this one.
And with Thresh getting locked in, this maybe sets Angelus up for that Leona pick. Again, it is dependent somewhat on that mid lane player, so I don't expect to see the Leona locked in anytime soon. I have a feeling that Ascension will hold off on their support pick for now, but Kha'Zix makes a lot of sense. Lee Sin and Jarvan not available. Default them to the next best tier of junglers, that being Kha'Zix and Rengar.
Right, so very possible we could see a Rengar coming in here as we have the Lee Sin ban, we have the Kha'Zix coming out, and then you look at the next tier pick, which could be, well, Jarvan auto bans out, so probably looking at a Rengar. What we do have for certain is the Jace actually being locked in here by Ascension, followed by the Corki as well for the bot lane.
And now those are two very poke-heavy champions. They're great at sieging in the mid-game phase. We've seen so much Jace, not only in Challenger in Europe, but everywhere around the world alongside that Corki. Ever since Worlds, pretty much unanimously, Jace has either been banned or picked in almost every game.
And we take a look at this lineup, and it's also looking like the makings of a poke composition coming in from Ascension Gaming, so we'll see how this one develops. Now looking towards the next couple picks from Giants. And while they do have the Kha'Zix, there's the hover over Irelia, and indeed locked in, so we will have that Irelia-Maokai matchup in the top lane.
Yeah, indeed, and again, this is a very common matchup that we're seeing now that Nara's banned away. Irelia, Rumble, and Maokai are the typical top lane picks right now. It's a bit of a stalemate of a lane because the laning phase is somewhat more Maokai's than Irelia takes a little bit of the later game, but it really does depend on jungle pressure, and that's something we'll have to watch as we head into the game. But this is a little bit different from the AD carry.
Yeah, this is an interesting pickup. Jinx comes out from Giants at the AD carry, and there's a lot of lot of AD carries available, and chooses to go Jinx over that. Fast response by Ascension though, with the Vi coming out, so not even going with the Rengar. Looking at the tier of junglers kind of below those top tier junglers at the moment. So Vi comes out, and Janet as well. It just seems like Worlds picks all the way down the line from Ascension. Yeah,
right up until that Vi. And one thing this will sort is when you're running a poke composition, having a lot of engage against you is a bit of a problem. So I think that's one thing they were trying to mitigate somewhat by having some more pick potential on the side of Ascension here with Vi. So they'll be able to get in front of turrets, siege up, and catch anyone out that's getting low health from their siege. The final pickup for Giants was Xerath. And now Xerath is a great champion for stopping siege because he has immense wave clear and a lot of poke himself. It's kind of a poke battle in that kind of situation. Alongside Jinx, that's a lot of wave clear from Giants. So I expect the siege perhaps to be broken if Ascension don't land all of the poke that they fire out.
Right, so it'll be pretty interesting to see how these lineups go up against each other. So while we've touched on the top lane, we've even looked at the mid lane a little bit as well, but what we haven't spoken about is the bottom lane with the Corki, the Janna, up against a Fresh and Jinx, and we just don't see Jinx very often when you have all those other big AD carries at the moment. We actually see a lot of Corki Lucian, and I was a little bit surprised that we didn't see it in this game.
Yeah, there are a couple of options when going up against the Corki. Lucian is the strongest one. Graves has come back into the meta. Sivir is another. Jinx saw a little bit of play in Challenger. It's to do with outscaling Corki throughout the game, so we'll have to watch for that and see which team is ultimately going to come out on top.
So we are mere seconds away from getting into our first game of this best of 3 between Ascension and Giants. But make sure you head over to Twitter, use the hashtag LCS expansion, there we go, at LOL Esports, and send us your predictions for how you think this match is going to go.
Yeah, and I really can't tell right now, coming from Champion Select. These are two different champion setups here on our teams, and certainly are two teams that aren't, you know, the likes of a Gamers 2 or a Reason Gaming who have a lot of knowledge about them that is available. These are two more unknown teams, and we are onto the Rift.
Either way, guys, we are getting into this game. We do have Giants up in the upper right-hand corner for the red team, and in the bottom left, we do have Ascension moving out on the blue side. Heading into their jungle, we'll see if these guys go for any early game aggression, or we just see everyone fan out and go for a defensive start.
Yeah, let's just get rid of that pesky chat box. We don't need that there on stream. But we are onto the Rift, as you said. Now, looking for the early game. A common tactic, if they are in the 2v2s with that Corki setup, is to look to get that level 2 very early on, and this might be one of the most aggressive plays we've seen.
Yeah, Giants head into the jungle, will be hit up by the Phosphorus Bomb, turned around, doesn't land the death sentence though. Sapling now comes across, and he will be chasing them out of their jungle with an explosion. And Giants are still sticking around, actually. Frederick is around that corner. The rest of the team saying, we probably want to be leaving this jungle around now, and they will all head back to base.
That was a pretty massive Phosphorus Bomb there. To land on so many people, not only does it do the damage, it also gives the vision, so it allows them to see that hook incoming from Thresh. Once that's not available, you pretty much just deter your own push. And that's going to affect the bottom lane as well, because now that Rydell has the hook, he's not going to get that increased damage on his auto attack at level 1, which is a large part of Thresh's lane dominance when you start the laning phase. So that's going to make Ascension's bottom lane even more likely to hit level 2 first.
So both of the bot lanes are going to be arriving here a little bit late. Rydell makes sure that there's no one in that bush and throws out his death sentence before that happens. But looks like we will be going for a somewhat quieter start than we may have originally thought after that aggression from these two teams. And the junglers will be having a fairly slower start.
But bottom lanes do meet up here, and you can see Rydell trying to offset a little bit of that missing damage by just constantly auto-attacking the wave. The race really is on here to hit level 2, and Giants are actually coming out ahead because of Rydell's work.
But the Phosphorus Bomb will even them back up again. Look for the Howling Gale, and they are trading off. Rydell turns around, lands the hook onto the AD carry, and we'll be following up with those rockets. Maybe enough damage here. He has to either heal or flash away. Which is it going to be? One more auto attack, but the exhaust comes down, and it will be enough to get him away, but they will have to head back to base.
That is possibly the worst thing that Ascension could have in this beginning of the laning phase. Top lane.
Top lane, they will be trading blows. Sven walks back to his turret and will be good for now. Looked like it was worse than it was, but Irelia getting that harassment down.
The problem with bottom lane there is that Ascension just went aggressive before you hit level 2. There is a reason that you wait until the level 2 at that situation, because you just have access to more of your abilities that on Corki right now, the difference between having a Gatling gun in these engages and not having it is a massive damage spike that just was not there for Ascension, and Giants took advantage of that one with a really nice hook.
You know, Landuzagro didn't even go back to base. He stuck around and just tried to use that health pot and use that regeneration. But he doesn't have a lot. Janna obviously won't be healing him until level 6. Top lane, though, Frederick comes in, lands the passive, and that's first blood going to Giants.
Easy pickup for Giants there. They made sure that Svenny had traded with Whirly B earlier on in that laning phase, and that's a pretty easy gank for Frederick to begin this game off.
So, good start for Giants. It will be
nice
Sven a whole lot because he will be able to teleport back up to the top lane. Did manage to get more harassment down on the bottom lane for Ascension, but Giants looking dominant all over the board.
Yeah, every time Giants take trades like this, it is going to put Ladascuro even further behind. And on a Corki that should really have the dominance, not only in the laning phase, but in the mid game against a champion like Jinx. This is a little bit surprising because you know they had to expect this kind of setup from Giants. You know they have to have expected the Threshers. That's Rydell's playstyle. So Ascension just going into this one a little bit overconfident, you have to feel.
Yes, indeed. As head back into their jungles, this will be Mr. trying to take away a wolf camp here. So while he hasn't been too successful looking for ganks, he is trying to take away some of that experience from Frederick in the jungle, as he was thinking about going back to base, now trying his luck in mid lane, perhaps, but will be walking over wards, so he has been tagged by that one.
Speaking of that mid lane, you can see how the Xerath-Jace matchup is going, as Xerath for now has a little bit of the lead, as Peppy is pushing Flezeth in quite a lot here. As this lane gets later and later, as Jace gets a little bit more damage, a little bit more poke, Peppy is going to have to sit back a little bit in this lane, and that's where Flezeth can use his shock blasts to really take advantage.
Both junglers were in the mid lane, but Frederick again considers going back and stops himself, and also considers going back again. So hasn't been super decisive, but I think this time he will be. Actually, no, he's not. He's not going back to base. Third time in a row, he's actually decided not to. Now he shows his face in mid lane. Pretty interesting play.
Yeah, I mean, he was leeching a lot of experience there, and Mister's going to show himself as well here, so I guess that's the world's most uninspiring counter game?
Maybe. Most uninspiring gank as well, as he just kind of walks in and clears the minions. Mister charging up the Vault Breaker, and will actually be stunned here. Takes the full combo from Pepe, and we'll have to head on back. Pops a health potion, and we'll just decide jungling is a safer option.
Man, I wasn't even expecting that, I'm going to be honest. I just figured they'd walk away from each other like they walked into the lane, but strange happenings here in game number 1 between Ascension and Giants. But it is still only 1 kill so far in this game, and that came from that really nice bottom lane top lane play earlier on. It was bottom lane resulted in a lot of a CS difference, which is still pretty large right now.
Bot lane, we just had the Flame Chompers landing, and it wasn't enough damage to take down Ladascuro. They did drop him low once again, and this Jinx lane is definitely working out for them, but not sure if we call it in the mid lane, but the ultimate, the Rites of the Arcane was used, and it had to, Flezeth had to burn his flash to get away from the last shot.
Look at how far Giants are playing aggressive into this lane. Xerath has a good pushing potential as it is. Pair that with Kha'Zix, they have already got that turret very low. And they are looking to pressure it out. I mean, Giants are making a power play for an objective very early on in this game.
And Giants all over the board are looking very strong. They have a CS advantage in every single lane. In the top lane, a small CS advantage in the form of a wave. Same story in bot lane, almost edging on 2 ways, and in mid lane. So just at the 7-minute mark, without an awful lot of jungler interaction, these lanes are just getting ahead.
Yeah, in that bottom lane, it's resulted in a massive power difference between the 2 AD carries. Giants have a pickaxe on Jinx already, and it's only to double Doran's on Corki. Let's take a look at how much gold he's sitting on. He's a little bit far away from any items he'd be looking for, but here could be the turning point. Mister is looking for a gank. In he goes.
He's coming in from behind, does have the Vault Breaker charged up. It will be Jinx flashing away from this one, but there's teleport from both of the top laners. This is about to get messy very, very quickly, and Worldly B comes in from the top lane, but right into the whole team of Ascension. 5 men were ready and waiting, and that's a kill and exchange, a 1-to-1 in total.
Oh, Mister didn't release the Vault Breaker there, and he gets gifted a little bit after tapping onto those Flame Chompers, got locked up in place, but that teleport out of Worldly B, we've heard that Worldly B's teleports are pretty on form. We were speaking to a couple of players, I believe it was Broken Shard as well, we were talking to, who worked extensively in the Spanish team when he was on working with Gamers 2, said that Worldly B's teleports tend to be pretty good. That one did not quite hit the mark.
Yeah, a little bit lackluster, if anything. Rydell in the bot lane looking to put down that aggression.
Mid lane, however,
though, we do have Frederick coming in, has upgrades that lead coming into Flezef, but there's the right of the Arcane, lands the first, lands the second, doesn't even need the third, as Frederick has the damage.
That's a lot of damage coming out from Xerath already, and that lead is going to get bigger and bigger with kills like that. But interesting to see, perhaps Xerath, I believe he's opting towards a Morellonomicon?
It looks like it. Does have the Forbidden Idol, does have the Phoenix Codex, so you'd have to expect that is the build route.
Yeah.
So that's what he's looking towards. Does have that 20 CS advantage, however. Bot lane, Rydal doesn't quite land his hook again, and gets punished hard by those rockets from Laduscaro.
So Morellonomicon is an item we've commonly seen when you don't need to get that additional magic resist that you do see from the Athene's Unholy Grail. It provides a somewhat similar job and is slightly more efficient when laning against AD. So I'm interested to see how this build actually ends up going. But a lot of the rest of the time on you know, more commonly used AP mid laners, you see a lot more of the tier builds. Not so much on Xerath, his abilities don't come out quite so fast. You don't stack it as fast as you need to. But just interesting to see this departure here.
So, more interestingly enough, we do have Whirly B heading into the mid lane, maybe thinking of his own gank to be set up. But if you take a look at the vision over the map, there's pink wards all over the place, and he was actually spotted out by one in the river. So we'll not be able to go for this one just yet. Jinx gets interrupted and recall at the very end of the animation, and we'll have to try again back at her turret.
You can see, though, in that mid lane how far back Peppy has to sit here, because that Shock Blast did start to hurt him, and that is not something he can consistently take in the lane. But junglers are about to meet. Mister's expecting it.
Yeah, he turns around, just lands the Vault Breaker, lands the combo as well. Frederick will have to head right back out again and angers the dragon. So we'll be taking a couple more hits. Was he a little bit lower, would have been finished off.
Yeah, that was a good play by Mister to read that coming through the jungle, and that could have been dangerous if Frederick had had his way there.
It would have been funny, actually. Had Mister used his ultimate, that would have been a dead Kha'Zix. But either way, bot lane taking everything they can, taking white as they head back into lane. And mid lane, the CS advantages are continuing to open up with Pepe in the mid lane. 100 CS. Versus 75 from Flezef. We'll be heading back to base with 400 gold, enough for that Morellonomicon and the Amplifying Tome.
Cool, I'm not going crazy in the middle lane.
Yeah.
It's not an item we see all that much currently in the patch, ever since a lot of Mundo fell off. But, you know, it is bought time to time, as we said, on that AP versus AD matchup. So, how will that affect his damage? What will his next buy be? And how much is he going to farm Wraiths with it? That's the other thing, because he's got a farm advantage already. He can sit fairly far back in the lane. That's going to allow him to head out to the jungle, pick up a little bit more gold for himself. That is typically what we'll see players do against a Jace.
So around the 12-minute mark, it's very possible these teams will now start to set up for Dragon. As you can see, a lot of vision coverage over that area. Apart from the Dragon itself, that has been warded up by the blue team, that being from Ascension. So they do have that little bit of information here, Stress.
Mister has his ultimate, but he's walking over a ward here. Xerath is in this bottom lane as well.
This could get messy once again in the bottom lane. Hut uses the ultimate onto Andrew in the bottom lane, drags him into Rydal. Pepe trying to return with some damage, and Mister is completely caught out. The box lands, and Laduscaro is taking a ton of damage as well. Here comes the Super Mega Death Rocket, and it's death from afar as the right of the Arcane is also used. Hook doesn't quite land. Frederick follows through. Lands the Void Spikes for the kill, but Flezef comes in from the middle lane as well. Gets locked down by Pepe. Now Frederick comes across, does not land the Void Spikes this time around, but a 2-for-0 is a great trade for Giants.
I'm very confused at what just happened between Ascension there. Janna monsoons the low health targets away from the rest of her team. That monsoon completely saved Giants there in that engage, and is going to result in a dragon going down. A little bit of miscommunication there from Angelus and the rest of the team, and that's going to be difficult to recover from.
Yeah, just maybe a little bit of panic there as Rydal also catches Angelus almost off guard there, as he was looking to try and get the timer on that dragon, but barely escapes the death sentence. And Giants, that was an extremely good sequence of events for them.
A little bit lucky as well, you have to feel. The positioning there at a Jinx made it so that she went back towards her own turret. So That's something that Ascension are going to have to tighten up on a little bit. But, you know, Giants will take whatever they're given right now, and that results in a dragon and a decent gold lead in this first game of this series. Now, let's see what Mister can get done up in this top lane. No wards out, but look how close it is to the turret. No ultimate for Vi yet either. It's about a quarter of the way off its cooldown still, so this gank may be a little hard work with a flash still available.
Oh, Mr. actually decides to charge up the Vault Breaker very early on into this gank.
They know he's there.
Yeah, they do indeed. Flazef's turret in the middle lane has 26 health, so undoubtedly that will be going down soon. But in the top lane, Mr. now shows his face. He will just actually go for this dive before the Vault Breaker's charged up. He will actually fast the Vault Breaker. Fairly telegraphed here from Ascension. And Sven will keep up the chase. He is out of mana. Zera comes in from the middle lane, but he's out of mana as well. XPepe, however, is quite good to go. This will be the two disguise from Jace, picking up the first kill. Frederick looks to follow up onto Sven in the top lane. Isn't quite able to connect the dots, but taking a look at XPepe. Oh, right up the game, but it's the Gurlums are the one to take him down. And he just needed to keep him in place for that one. Frederick did eventually manage to chase down the tree, and that'll be 2 kills, 2 for 1 in total for Giants.
And overall, the bottom lane tower fell as well in favor of Giants. This is going from good to almost amazing for Giants. I would say even better, but it's even better than even better, Pulse. This is pretty darn good for Giants right now. They have taken the dragon, they've taken the turret, they have a massive lead against the mid-game composition. So Ascension really need to start grouping if they actually want to compete through this mid-game, because Jinx is going to scale very well. Look at that, Infinity Edge completed already, and no sign of the Trinity Force. He's still about 700 gold away from that Trinity Force, so Corki needs a lot of time here before he can actually become relevant in the mid-game. And if there's one thing that Jinx is very good at, it is taking objectives. So Giants can really exploit that, but with some fast tower pushing if they're careful.
But Ascension are hemorrhaging gold all over the map right now. 5,000 gold advantage at 15 minutes into the game is actually very, very big. Whirly has been caught out. He did manage to get the blue buff. Can he escape with it? I don't think so, as Mister will be chasing down the criminal. Get my blue buff back onto my mid laner. Flazef will be the one to pick it up, but the rest of Giants is coming in from the side. Angelus has been caught out. Book comes in from the skies, and it just means there's enough burst to take him out. Mister finds Frederick. Here comes right up the arcane. Last charge will be landing. Sven comes in from around the side. Accelerated shock blast will be chunking them down as well. XPepe pops his own ghost to head into this range. Oh, Jinx Rocket goes right in between his team. Sven has been caught out here. Lands the stun, lands the death sentence as well. They should have enough damage before he drops. Oh, he will land the arcane smash onto everyone in that engagement. It's not enough damage. And again, the accelerated shock blast doesn't find its mark.
Oh, the poke just is not landing from Ascension, and Giants are just going to capitalize that all the time. And Pepe's not done here. Doesn't quite land the stun. That is going to be Flezeth getting away. He managed to hold on to the blue buff. That's, if there's one thing that Ascension can take, it is the fact that they have that all-important blue buff onto Jace, who has a lot of damage. So keep that in mind as we go through this game. But Giants are considerably far ahead. And do not underestimate this kind of composition that is so good at laying down damage in teamfights.
And during all of that, even more turrets went down. They're now 7,000 gold ahead. Literally, as all these sequences unfold, they just continue to draw ahead in this game. And Ascension don't really have any answers to them. Every time there's an interaction between the two teams, they always fall behind.
Taking a look at it, Dragon is going to be up in just over a minute. So if they can open up a position for Ascension, they may be able to get back into this game. Currently, though, there's 0-3 on top lane and jungle, and that synergy just has not been working out. When you compare it with the synergy on the other side, 4-0-3 is Kha'Zix right now, and that is a great spot to be in if you're Frederick. We know he's a very aggressive jungler. We know Kha'Zix fits his playstyle, and between Xerath and Kha'Zix, they are doing an excellent job in this game.
So if we take a scan down all of the items, with all this extra gold that they've managed to accrue, top lane already picked up the Trinity Force. Sub 20 minutes is a pretty good timer if you're an Irelia. Mid lane, another big item on top of that Morellonomicon. Zhonya's Hourglass has been complete. Bot lane, well on his way to picking up 2 big items, has the Infinity Edge and almost a static shift.
I feel like it's a bit of a shame we didn't see the Leona pick up here. Yes, it wouldn't really have helped the siege composition that Ascension were running, but one of the champions we specifically spoke to Angelus about was a champion like Xerath in the mid game, who really is just immobile, and Leona exploits very well with that solar flare. I would have liked to have seen it just to see how it works out here, because it looks like the settings were all exactly as Ascension would have wanted it, had the picks and bans phase been kind of inverted and Ascension were red with last pick.
Yeah, I mean, ex-Peppy did lock in Xerath as the last pick, so unless he was telepathic and able to predict the future, then yeah, he probably would have predicted that and picked up the Leona. However, he didn't. However, Dragon in 5 seconds.
Yeah, but I mean, perhaps after Ascending, I guess they're in the middle of Ascending, but after Ascending, maybe that is a power they will have.
Maybe, and it's relevant because Xerath is in this game. Looking at the Dragon now, Giants will be taking that one away, and no contest at all from Ascension. Did they even get the timer on it? Yes, they did. There was a ward over the wall, courtesy of Angelus, but there was nothing they could do about it. Can they take a consolation prize in the top lane? That's the question here, Stress. Flesif and Mister are waiting in the wings.
Everything's available. Here comes Vi with her ult.
How surgical is this going to be? Voltbreaker comes in. The answer, very surgical. They will be taking him down. Top tower falls. So they will be taking a tower on a kill. Not a bad trade-off.
Didn't even need to use the Vi ultimate. They had too much damage. Ooh, mid lane, let Oscuro. Flash Flay!
The Flash Flay into the box as well. There's the Monsoon. Oh, the hook doesn't quite land. Whistles past the ear of Laduscuro. And Frederick, yes, he lands the Void Spikes, but he doesn't have the team behind him to dish out the damage.
Props to Rydell on that play, though. The Flash Reverse Flay is one of the most difficult mechanical skills in League of Legends. This might not be over.
No, Angelus looks like he may be caught out here. Has to flash away, but did land the Howling Gale. Here's the right of the Arcane. Lands the first, lands the second. Ooh. Doesn't land the third, which would have been the killing blow onto Angelus.
Oh, man, he dodged right back into one of them. That was touch and go for Angelus there for a second, but that whole engage, I will commend Rydell. We know he's very comfortable on the melee support champions, but that was good to see. Flashes like that are the difference between good support players and great support players, when you know you can land that time and time again.
In the bot lane, though, while that was happening, Giants did pick up another turret. So while all these trades are happening, they're continuing to pick up objectives. And it always seems that Ascension are distracted by these small skirmishes where Giants are like, all right, well, I guess we'll just send Jinx to demolish another turret.
And that's what she's really good at. Think back to 2014 season. There were a couple of interviews with the North American team Dignitas, who were just running Jinx in every single game. And they told I'm a Cutie Pie, stand in front of turrets, your only objective is turrets. Think of champions as turrets, just get turret kills. Because that's what Jinx does.
And Jinx, talking about her, is getting chased down by Mister. Will be using that Sword and Battery, but he has been called out, getting whirly beat here. They will get that one kill. So Ascension burn a lot, but they do manage to get something.
They do get a kill. It's a good consolation prize right now, and they've actually forced Giants somewhat on the back foot now. They're not being as aggressive. But is it only a matter of time here before the next objective has their sights turned to it? Because Giants have been pretty good at taking dragons and towers as soon as the opportunity has arisen.
And despite Giants' pretty big gold lead at this stage, they haven't put any aggressive wards down. You take a look at the Vision game, and it's pretty much in their own jungle towards the river. So it almost feels like they're just playing this even a little bit defensively against Ascension, who are pretty much doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the Vision game has been back and forth somewhat this game. No team has really dominated the Vision when it comes to their enemies' jungle. I mean, they're very conservative warding out so far. Yep. So neither team really looking to push for that. And that's quite surprising considering the number of towers that Giants have taken down. You would expect them to have the control over the enemy jungle. You can see they've already set up a couple of sweeper trinkets here and are going to use them. So maybe they can hear us. I hope not.
Fairly unlikely, but either way, we'll have Giants heading into the middle lane, clearing out that minion wave. They've not been making too many proactive plays in the last couple minutes, though, and if Ascension needed to do anything to stop the bleeding, well, they've definitely done it. That one kill in the top lane was enough to say, look, Giants, we're not just going to roll over and let you take this game. And they have slowed down a significant way. Now contesting this blue buff. Sven is here with the rest of his team. Flezza trying to secure this one, and Giants don't look too interested in trying to contest it. Top lane turret looks like it's going to be what they're after.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to be able to get Jinx in front of this turret anytime fast enough to take it down. Look at the response that's already come out from Ascension. They've got most of their team up in this top lane, and that's giving Aurelia a lot of room in this bottom lane to actually ward up. They've spotted a good few members of Ascension, and Willie B knows this time he has to get in front of this inhibitor turret.
And Sven is coming into the bot lane to stop him. He will be there in time, so he won't be able to just go into this turret and take it away for free. We still have the stare down in top lane, however, Stress.
We do, and the wave clear is made even stronger here for Giants by the fact they've got that static shiv onto Jinx, who is going to tick up the attack speed. Here perhaps is the defense out of Ascension.
We do have a decent amount of wave clear. Giants acknowledge that and decide to back off. What is their next play? Take a shot blast to the face. That's the one for X-Peppy here.
It's not a solid play.
No, it isn't.
I'm going to be honest.
It's not going to work out for him, no matter how you look at it, but they will just move into the mid lane. So there's a lot of posturing, there's a lot of moving back and forth between the lanes, but not a whole lot is moving.
And considering the gold gap right now, it's surprising that Giants have let this game slow. And 35 seconds until the next dragon is going to force this game to a faster pace, but Giants were in control. And when you're in control with such a massive lead on your mid laner, right up until the last couple of fights, typically you're very proactive around the map, and Giants seem reluctant to go aggressive at any kind of situation right now.
So you kind of have to ask the question, if you're ahead now and you fall behind later, is there any chance of you just catching up again and then taking away the game, as they do manage to land a hook onto Laduscro? This is exactly what they want. Right up the arcane, trying to land the last hit, but it will not be enough, and Rido, in fact, will be the one to fall. So what looked like a great pick will be turned right around by Ascension.
Yeah, the damage spike for Ascension's mid-game has finally been met. Trinity Force with the Sorcerer's Shoes means they can group.
Oh, Flezif lands the Accelerator Shock Blast, but this time also gets caught out as well. Shutdown comes in. This is a messy team fight for Ascension. They will be backing up, but losing their mid laner and AD carry in the process. Whirly B now on the offensive, taking point for his team. Moving now on Sven. Also lands the zap from Jinx, and he has to go back in, be the sacrificial tree for his team. And a free for Zero. Make that a 4 for Zero as Frederick managed to chase down Angelus in the background.
All of the damage was missing from Ascension at the tail end of that fight. They just had nobody that could clean up. Even though Corki and Jace were there, they got obliterated to begin this, and Giants are right back on track.
So what looked like a bad pick, what looked like a good pick turns into a bad pick, and what looked like a good pick also turns into a bad pick from Ascension. So that was a very, very weird lead up to that fight.
You've lost me on that very, very weird lead
I've lost
up to
myself
that as
well.
It's okay. We'll find you again, Pulse. We'll send out a search party. But Giants certainly don't need a search party for their lead, because they have regained it, and they are feeling very comfortable right now with this lead, you have to feel, even though Ascension have the better composition for this period of the game. But look at the jungle.
And Whirly B has been caught out. He was just kind of chilling there, waiting to assassinate someone, but he was only at 50% HP. And sooner or later, Ascension are going to walk into their own jungle and kill you, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the vision game. We spoke about it earlier. Giants have been very reluctant to take control of their enemy jungle with regards to vision. Even though they have so much, strength here. Oh, the Vault Breaker right into the rocket.
A little bit unfortunate, but right the arcane lands everything, raining death down upon Ascension. They pick up that kill, and Adri is going 1 versus 2, but actually coming out ahead. Frederick comes in from the side, gets the triple, looking for the quadra, will be taken away by X-Peppy. But wouldn't have been able to net the Penta regardless, with Sven heading up into the top lane. But everyone just gets destroyed from a series of picks, and this looks like it's the middle inhibitor turret going down for Giants.
I mean, they know Maokai's in the top lane. They can afford to face tank that tower down and take the inhibitor, and that Vault Breaker from Mr. put him right back into the Super Mega Death Rocket's path and kicked off a chain of events, which now leaves Ascension with no mid lane inhibitor and possibly no chance at contesting a Baron.
And Willie B already starting off the Baron by himself. They have plenty of damage behind him. That does allow Mister to respawn, and he is well on his way to Baron. Can this be the steal of the century, Stress? This is what it's going to have to be, but Rydor is the one to zone him away. No, it is not today. Baron will be picked up cleanly by Giants.
And right in front of Ascension's face as well. They knew it was happening and could not get in there to stop it, but 7-0-3 on Jinx. This pick has worked exceptionally well for Adri in this game. We spoke about how Jinx is somewhat of an unorthodox pick against a Corki because you essentially say, we'll give you the mid game, but we'll try and take control using our support in the early game and then have the late game to ourselves. They never gave them the mid game, really. They just kind of said, hey, we'll get a lead in the laning phase using some pretty nifty mechanics from Thresh, but then we'll just stomp you with the rest of the game on Jinx, farming incredibly well, 7 kills, and so far ahead on the build.
And in this game, 14,000 gold advantage plus the Baron buff, they are so incredibly far ahead, that being Giants. This game is essentially not only spiraling out of control, but you have to feel they are circling the drain right now. Ascension, what can they do? Do they just start looking at the next couple of games? Because this is, of course, a best-of-3 series here, Stress. They do have time to bounce back.
One of the things that coming into this game we were looking at is how Giants line up with their old support used to play. And that was that they like to 1-3-1 split push quite a lot. And I feel like there could be a similar setup coming here because they have mid lane already pushing. They have an Irelia, and the rest of the team is immensely strong. So that is something they could look to do here if they wanted to set up that kind of pressure that all 3 lanes are getting pressured by super minions and the team. And that will be very difficult for Ascension to deal with because they don't have anyone that can really go up against the full force of the team or Whirly B. Even though Whirly B is 1-6, he is still very strong at this point in the game.
And panning down the items as well here, Stress. Look how far ahead everyone is, all over the board from Giants. They're all just so far ahead in items. 2 items pretty much for everyone. Looking at 3 items in the mid lane. In fact, no, 4 items. Sven here is alright. Frederick is probably the one who might be called out. Aggressive plays by Giants as he moved into the top jungle. Maybe trying to look again at this top turret. Probably going to have better success this time around. But what are Ascension looking for? Fnatic Death Push time looks like.
What I will say about the Fnatic Death Push is it is normally done in a situation where your opponents are going to cross through the jungle and not look in a bush.
Yeah, and Zap coming out from Jinx will give away the game, and he will have to head back behind his turret. Janna's shield will be mitigating a little bit of this damage, but the poke is starting to ramp up rapidly from Giants, and he will just start chunking away at this turret. The face of the mountain shield will be enough to tank a little bit of it, and they don't even need the minion wave. There has to be a time where Ascension put their foot down and try and go for this trade, though.
But the fact is mid lane is still pushing in for Giants. That inhibitor still not respawning yet means that Giants have all the time in the world right now with their Baron buff. And they do get a turret on the bottom side of the map for Ascension. The hook lands!
Flezev has been called out, moves in with the box. Everyone is getting locked down. Rydor will be the first one to drop, though, with his initiation. Have they been enough more than they can treat? Well, the jungler goes down from as Mr. Flezev as well gets hit by the right of the arcane, but a 1-for-1 trade, and he did manage to net the jungler for the support.
Baron buffed up Giants, though, are now looking to siege this tower once again. They have the Xerath to do so from the inside. However, inhibitor has respawned. That is a key point. The mid lane is no longer going to be pushing in their favor. Svenna gets locked down.
He does, but he is fairly tanky. We'll probably have to make a trip to the fountain very shortly. But this is slowing the push down from Giants. They are still chipping away at this turret, though, and that's the important thing. They're making permanent damage. Whirly B goes deep into the base, lands the zap, and the last blaze surge. Not going to be quite enough damage. Frederick again with the flash. Void Spikes will be taking down the AD carry, and this is a very deep dive, but it looks like it's working out for Giants. Sven moves onto the AD carry, but it's just not enough damage. Mr. has respawned from base. It's been so long of an engagement. Whirly B heads in regardless, turns around with the excessive force, but gets pinned down by the Arcano Pulse. A 4-for-1 for Giants.
Giants have too much damage for Ascension to actually deal with, regardless of how they engage this fight. You saw just how far in Frederick went, and it did not matter, as Giants just have built themselves too much of a lead. They could even potentially look to double inhib Ascension here. They do have to be careful of this poke from Flezev, though, and they are just going to get that inhib.
Yeah, landed the last shock blast, but was not enough to deter Adri as he finishes off that middle inhibitor. 2 inhibitors down, 22 kills to 9, and a gigantic gold lead coming in for Giants here. 5 tower advantage. You look at all of the boxes, all the criteria for winning a game, and they've ticked everything.
And here goes another dragon to the list. Add this one onto the objectives here for Giants, because 22 kills to 9 up. Giants are looking pretty strong right now, and Ascension said they had formed this team to do well in the expansion tournament. They need to try and fix a couple of their little communication issues. They're not too far off. We're seeing flashes from them this game where they are competing against Giants, and they are certainly not out of this game yet. But the deck has been stacked against them.
This may be a case right now of, if not looking for a comeback, thinking about the next game, what they're going to be doing, not only in the Champion Select picks and bans, but as they head into the next game, because honestly, the picks have not been an issue here. You have to feel that, as you mentioned, some of the communication has been a little bit off, and a lot of the big gold swings have been just down to someone getting caught and then everyone else getting caught.
I mean, I would actually say a lot of this game has actually been a little bit to do with the picks, but not from Ascension's side.
Right.
The pick of Xerath was such a good setup here for Giants, and kudos to X-Peppy. He has done a fantastic job in this game on a champion that is difficult not to die on. His stat line is 6, 0, and 11, and you cannot underestimate how difficult that is to do. So full credit to Giants for knowing what their last pick had to be and taking full advantage of Ascension.
This looks like this may be last chance saloon, though, for Ascension to try and draw themselves back into this game. Whirly B, aggressive play onto Mr. Rydell, trying to connect a death sentence onto a squishy target. Sven, supposed to be the most tanky member of the team, but is getting nailed. Oh, one charge of Rise of the Ascension is enough to take down Sven. Now, this is a 5 versus 4, and the siege will continue.
Double inhibs are down, though, so Giants have all the position in the world to take down this inhibitor turret, the last remaining inhibitor turret. And my goodness, the stat line's all down the list for Giants as they push forward into the base.
Oh, this is the last bastion of the home for Ascension. Flazef will be falling to kick off this fight. Angelus being followed up. Super Mega Death Rocket tags him on the way out. A 5 versus 4. This is too tall of a task. You have to feel stress. Mr. as well will be heading in by himself. Falling prey as well to the lineup of Giants. And this will be game. Dual Nexus turrets are falling. Nexus will fall as well. And the first game of this best of 3 between Giants and Ascension will be going to Team Giants.
That really was a good game out of X-Peppy. He had such a good performance. Not alone, though. You look down the list, Adri had a great performance on Jinx. Frederick had a brilliant performance on Kha'Zix. Got into the lanes early on, got himself those kills, got the summoners in the early game, and set himself up. Giants has looked very strong in that game.
Yeah, it's looking very good for them, at least in this first game. 1-0 in this best of 3 up against Ascension. We'll see if they can bounce back, bring this to a 1-on-1, or if Giants can just take this in a clean sweep. Because after that first game, if they can have a repeat success, then it's very possible they'll do so. Either way, guys, we will be jumping to a quick break. And when we get back, we will see the conclusion of this best of 3. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second game of this best of 3 between Ascension and Giants. And first game, well, undoubtedly went to Giants. It was a pretty one-sided affair, so we'll see what happens in the second game, whether Ascension can bring this back to a 1-on-1.
Yeah, that was a pretty convincing game out of Giants. Although, let's not count Ascension out yet. They did have a couple of flashes in their play where we saw some moments where they were competing with Giants. But just in general, it looked like Giants got the best of the pick and ban phase there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see if they make any adjustments to that pick and ban phase, as we should be getting into that very shortly. But what adjustments do you believe that they should be making? Because, I mean, it wasn't obviously from Giants' side, but Ascension, they went into this, they maybe, they were not necessarily on all comfort picks, but in the mid lane, we do know that that Flazev does like his assassins, maybe looking for something a little more traditional in that sense. We're talking about assassins, one of them has just been banned out in the form of Zed.
Yeah, and it's interesting, now with Ascension on the red side, they have a couple more responsibilities to ban out here. They have to get rid of Nah, unless for some reason Giants want to do it on blue side, which I don't think many teams are ever going to do.
No. I mean, why would you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Kha'Zix has been banned out, taking that one away from Frederick. We saw how strong he was in that last game. Those Flash Void Spikes secured 2 kills, which was pretty incredible to witness, but Lee Sin is well taken away from that jungle role.
Yeah, so 2 jungle bans already. We saw Jarvan banned out in the first game, so will we see that once again? But support is the next port of call for our bans.
Yeah, Fresh has been taken away here by Ascension, followed by Irelia for the last ban from Giants. And if this isn't Nah here, I think Ascension have just gone insane.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. This pretty much has to be Nah. I mean, if they don't ban Nah here, there's something very wrong. Or Svenna knows a counter, which he'd be the first person to know a counter to Nah.
Oh,
my
okay.
goodness.
This is very interesting. So I have not seen a Nah not banned for a long time.
Weeks. We're talking
yeah.
So many weeks we've seen Nah just 6th ban, always out. Whirly B, I mean, you've got to imagine he's just saying, give me Nah. Give me Nah. There we go.
Okay, so, I mean, like, that's a very risky play coming out here. Xerath, of course, aims at Peppy.
Yeah, but at this point, this forces Ascension's hand. They have to take Jarvan.
Yeah.
So one of the major reasons of why Nah is banned out so much is his synergy with a lot of the jungle picks right now, especially with Jarvan. Nah and Jarvan on the same team allows you to combine ultimates, basically, so that Jarvan goes in with the Cataclysm, Nah follows up, and ever since the changes a good few patches ago, Nah's ultimate will now stun any target that hits the Cataclysm wall, so Ascension pretty much have to take away Jarvan. Or Giants have possibly one of the best team fighting compositions you could ever have, because Jarvan Orianna here would be insane.
Absolutely, and, well, Nah picked up here means that any player created terrain, so, you know, we might just see, like, Trundle, Jarvan...
Let's not go crazy here.
And they do not take Jarvan.
Oh my goodness!
And then Jarvan now is getting hovered over by Giants. They swap over to Elise, but like they are not in a... Well, actually, they could just take Jarvan here. I mean, there's no reason not to. This is handing them the combo on the silver platter.
There
you go. Jarvan locked in. Janna as well, taking that one away from Angelus.
It's crazy land here at the EU LCS expansion. This is the composition that if you speak to any player in Challenger LCS, I don't care where you're from. If you speak to anybody about 4.19, they say Nah Jarvan is unbelievably strong. And this is either a confidence play out of Ascension or they've gone crazy.
Very possible. Are they going to bring out something here, though? Because we did talk about they have picks here that are curveballs, and here's one of them. Hecarim comes out, and we know that Mr. in the jungle does like him some Hecarim.
We are in for a crazy game, because if there's one champion that doesn't matter so much about terrain, it's Hecarim with his Onslaught of Shadows, because he's going straight through that.
Yeah.
But what is going on? This is such a strange pick and ban phase already.
Yeah.
I don't know where to begin. The supports are standard. Let's go with that.
Okay.
Janna and Nami are the same supports we've seen time and time again. The Jinx has been picked away from Adri. It's crazy.
Yeah, okay. So Hecarim in the jungle here has actually seen some play in the top lane, actually some play in the middle lane as well, but not so much in the jungle, because a lot of pro players that you speak to will be like, well, you prefer to have the gold income from those solo lanes so you can hit the Trinity Force faster.
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty true. It's not something we see all that much out of the jungle, and I guess Ascension are going to breathe somewhat of a sigh of relief with that mid lane lock-in that it's not an Orianna.
Yes. They also pick up the Lucian for the AD carry, so they will have that alongside the Janna, undoubtedly one of the stronger bot lanes down there at the moment. And then Syndra will be on Peppy. And then we do have Ascension hovering over Diana.
I don't think we're going to see Diana. We would have actually gone to Crazy Town if Diana got locked in.
But we do know Sven has that as a pocket pick.
Well, we haven't seen it. We heard short rumors that we've not seen it. It's one of those whispers in the wind.
Yeah.
I don't think is actually going to rear its head here. Maokai has already been locked in. So the top laner is already gone, and it's not going to become a factor.
Okay, so Ahri locked in here. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But still, Hecarim will be coming out. That will be thrown into the jungle. But more importantly, like, we look at compositions and where to start better than Gnar Jarvan. This is the quintessential teamfight composition.
It really is. Lead into that, the stun that's going to come out from Syndra. That is so much teamfight presence that you pair that with a Janna for disengage and also obviously the sieging potential. Giants have a very strong lineup, and Ascension don't as such have a meta strong lineup, but we know they've got a couple of comfort picks here.
Okay, I'm very excited to see how this one's going to go, and looking at Mr. as well, looking at his summoner spell. Now, we did see Flash Ghost in the last game by XP Peppy in the mid lane with that Zeref pickup. We know he likes to Twisted Fate as well. Those are kind of the summoner spells that you like to go with those champions, but he will be picking up the Ghost for the jungle, and yes, movement speed does scale with your passive, but still an interesting pickup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what to expect out of this Hecarim here. It's not a champion we see all that much. We already talked about it. Mr. does play it. He's comfortable on it, so we'll see what he can do. It's do or die here for Ascension.
It is, and backs up against the wall. I guess they just thought, well, if there's any time to bring out a curveball pick, it's right here, right now, in the second game of this best of 3. And they do not want to be leaving the EU LCS expansion tournament at this stage in the game. We're only in the first round.
Yeah, indeed. So it's that time again. Get your predictions in on Twitter at LOL Esports. Tweet us using the hashtag LCS expansion. And let us know who you think is going to win this crazy, crazy game. Because I know who I think is going to win just from the team composition alone. But we've been proven wrong before. We're not going to find out quite yet, because that's an instant pause.
Yes, indeed. So let's hope that it doesn't take too long. So far, we haven't actually had any pauses. So we'll see how this one resolves itself. It's going to take a couple of seconds. Looks like one of the players just said it's going to be just a couple of seconds. So it shouldn't be too long.
Okay, because we wouldn't want any long pauses during
we would not.
This game. That would not be the best thing to happen. But hopefully it is only a short pause. This gives you time to get your tweets in as well, guys. So you can head over to Twitter, take a leisurely tweet as well. Retype it a couple of times, make sure it all fits. Get everything you want to say in there.
Including Gnar Jarvan, because that is going to be playing a major feature in this game. Now, we've been hyping this combo up so much that if it falls flat, we're going to look like idiots. But if you look at it on paper, it should work out in theory.
On paper, the combination is unbelievably strong. However, not every top laner can play Gnar up to the standard that it needs to be. And that sounds like quite a disparaging comment. But remember, Gnar as a champion doesn't have his ultimate available at all times. You have to build that rage meter, turn into Mega Gnar, and then use the ultimate. So if the engages are timed to when you don't have your rage bar or you've just come out of Mega Gnar form, it's a very difficult prospect to actually take that team fight using that combination.
Yeah, so this still requires a lot of coordination from this team to pull off, but if it works out perfectly, it is extremely strong. So we are now onto the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. We do have Giants now in the bottom left-hand corner, sporting the blue colors. Up in the right-hand corner, of course, will be Ascension, the EUNE team, looking to make a splash in this tournament and see if they can hang on in this series, one game down.
As we said, do or die here for Ascension. So they're bringing out picks like the Hecarim. But to do it, they've given away strong picks, and I'm not sure I agree with that so much. But maybe somewhere in their playbook, Hecarim is great against Gnar Jarvan. I think the Narvan combination, though, is just so strong right now.
Yes, indeed. Whirly B puts out the ward, puts out the auto attacks, has managed to land 2 successful boomerang throws so far. And it looks like we will be having a slower start to the explosive start we had in the last game where both teams met head-to-head. And Whirly B doesn't quite land his next boomerang onto Mr., but they will actually start trading off here. Peppy comes in from the mid lane, throws out the Dark Sphere.
Yeah, he does indeed. Now, what makes Gnar, I keep wanting to say Narvan now that I've said it once. What makes Gnar such a good pick up in that top lane? Boomerang is great for harass, That is the first point. There's a lot of damage that comes from that. He's a manaless champion, so it means you can use that pretty much just based on the cooldowns. Obviously, catching it is going to do a better job. But he gets a massive spike in resistances and health very early on into the game on that first transformation into Mega Gnar. And you can't underestimate that. That's essentially free gold advantage for a small portion of time that allows you to dominate the lane. Take a look at bottom lane, though. Ascension are trying to set the lane up for themselves, but this didn't go well the first game.
They start trading off against them, and Ascension have to try and kite their way back to their turret, and Laduscaro on Jinx takes so much damage. And he actually picks the Jinx himself this game, so it's like, well, it worked out for you last game, Adri. I guess I'll try my look at it, but heading into this laning phase, that wasn't a great start.
No, that was a repeat performance of the last game, but take a look at where the chips have fallen here. Looks like they are going to regain control of the wave, even though they took a little bit more damage to begin.
So, now taking a look at this middle lane, I don't want to take my eyes from bot lane for too long, because just in a split second, Ascension did manage to turn around the damage. But taking a look at this middle lane, Xpeppy this time will be on that Syndra, up against Flezef, moving away from the Jace into this Ahri, which is definitely in line with his assassin mid laners he likes to play.
And there is the first transformation of the game up in the top lane. You can see Gnar, who normally in mini Gnar has not so much health, has quite a lot more currently than Maokai right now. Middle lane.
Flezef gets hit up by the full combo by Xpeppy. Lands the Ignite as well, but the health potion is enough to keep him healthy for now. But both mid laners are in critical condition, and the Vultures are circling. Both the junglers are moving around the middle lane.
They are indeed. Which is going to be the first jungler to get into the lane? Are we going to see the Ghost come out from Mr. here? He may need it if he wants to get in, but he's moving away to the jungle, and that could open up a little bit of a position here for Frederick to hop over the wall.
Yes, Flezef is now in better shape when it comes to his health bar. So this would be a risky dive if they chose to go for it. In fact, Frederick will just decide to take away the Wraiths instead. Likewise, Mr. did the same thing.
I have a feeling that Flezeth kind of just read the situation, but maybe he's misread it now. Stun's going to land.
Oh, there's the flag and drag. Does he have the flash? Yes, he does. But does he choose to use it? Yes, he does as well. But first blood comes through for Xpeppy. And he used the flash and used the Ignite. That was worst case scenario.
I was about to praise Flezeth on the fact that he positioned himself at the furthest possible route for Jarvan to get into lane, and then goes and plants a ward and pretty much gives him his position up. Bottom lane.
Oh, the Flame Chompers will land onto Rydell, and Adri comes in to try and save the support's life. Angelus will be using Exhaust, however. Laduscaro allows the zap as well.
Flash.
Angelus comes in, but the flash, and gets heal baited out, so burns the flash for the heal.
Flash for heal goes pretty much in favor of the heal-using team every time. Flash is too important a summoner to trade for a lower cooldown, but they will be okay for now. Back up in the top lane, here comes another transformation out of Whirly B, and again, he's forcing Svenna away. Look at the CS difference, 35 CS to 20 so far in this lane. I mean, this is why we see Gnar banned away. There is no second way about it. He hasn't even had to use a health potion yet.
And we are starting to see a repeat of this first game here, Stress, even just in terms of the farm. 37 CS in the top lane, but let's switch attention to bot lane. Angelus gets caught out by the flying drive by Frederick. Laduscaro as well is getting chased down, but that will be the end of the chase here. Frederick picks up that kill. Mr. though in the top lane will be looking for this gank onto Whirly B, but hops away, will be getting back to his turret, and that's another reason why Gnar's so strong right now.
Yeah, did we forget to mention that Gnar has an escape that when you land on a unit, you bounce? That's pretty good at getting yourself away from a gank like that, so add that to the strengths column, but add this to the gank column in mid.
Oh, Frederick looks like he was going for the gank, but did decide better of it as Flezef was already back at his turret. However, looking at that middle lane, we were just talking about the gold disparity in the top lane, but look at mid lane as well. Another 20 CS advantage, which did have that gank at the start, but it's just a complete repeat of the first game.
Yeah, indeed. This is just game one going on again, and I want to take a quick second to look at the builds. Take a look at Adri. For the laning phase, he's picked up the Brutalizer before any other item, which on a Lucian, you get a Brutalizer, but never this early on. You tend to build that as a second item after picking up your Infinity Edge. So That is a little bit curious of a pickup.
Well, it means he will have the extra penetration for the laning phase, so his skills at least will hit like a truck, but Frederick now heads into his jungle as well. See if he maybe looks for a lane gank, because Peppy is heading into the bot lane. He has been spotted out by that pink ward in the river. He did not check that bush. I think he knows that they have been ticked off about his presence. Will move through the river again. Puts out the sweeper. Where's the ward? Walks past the pink ward, didn't even notice it, and did actually ping it, so Frederick's going to be the one to clear it out.
Mr. however, is going aggressive on Hecarim already, and you can see he's got himself a lead with regards to farm coming out of the jungle, but 2 assists onto Jarvan, you have to feel are a little bit better for the team as a whole, as that has made this game to a 2-0 scoreline so far. And with Ascension in such a dire position with regards to being 0-1 down, they have to get a couple of kills and quick.
You have to feel that this curveball pick of the Hecarim jungle will start having to do something to make it worthwhile to give up Nar Jarvan. So far, I'm not seeing all that much. We're just kind of seeing the strong picks looking very strong, as you would expect on paper. Bot lane as well, starting to open up the CS differential. And unless Ascension do something fairly soon, this game is going to snowball out of control like the last one.
Yeah, I feel like it will as soon as Giants start to group, as they just have such a good composition for team fighting. However, Frederick may be caught in a 1v2.
Yeah, doesn't land the charm though, doesn't land any of the skill shots, and Frederick will just make his way out using that flag and drag. We do get the positioning on the pink ward, clear that one away. Willie B was thinking about heading down there. We'll be initiating onto that Nar.
No rage.
Uses his ultimate. There's the hop. We'll be moving away. Raging is a fair way off. Mr. pops his ghost. And does he have the follow? We'll be using that rampage to try and deal the rest of the damage. Now the rage is starting to build up. Did have the onslaught of shadows, and didn't choose to use that either. Yeah,
a little surprised he didn't do it when he had Nar pinned towards the wall. That would have feared him for just enough time, perhaps, but look at how low Svenna was on mana at the beginning of that. One twisted advance would have been enough to lock that down, just didn't have the mana to set it up.
Also interesting, because Mr. had enough mana for his Onslaught of Shadows, but opted towards the Spirit of Dread instead. So he had 80 mana instead of 100, and then couldn't use it after that. So you would expect, if it was a pocket pick, for him to be managing his mana correctly. So I guess that was intentional.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see on the next engage whether he does prioritize that. But bottom lane, here comes the roam from XPeppy.
And Angelus is already on his way out. Does manage to still connect the Scout of the Week, though. Will force the flash out from this army. The teleport now comes in. Here comes Sven. And Nar will do the same thing. And he will actually follow through with the teleport. Sven gets locked up here briefly. Looking for this stun coming out from XPeppy. However, Hecarim comes in from the side, still has his ultimate, remember, from the last engagement, and does he choose to go for it? We do have Flazev coming in from the middle lane as well. Everyone is collapsing around this area, and this would have been a 4 versus 5 had they chosen for it.
Yeah, but I don't think that Ascension know that Jarvan isn't there. Now they do, because he showed himself in the middle lane.
Oh, Whirlybeat takes so much damage. A super mega drop. Death Rocket drops him low. Here comes the Hecarim ultimate. Will be finishing off, but now he's in the middle of the enemy team. He drops in turn for that kill. 1-for-1 so far. Now Flazev comes in from around the side, trying to get this assassination onto XPeppy. He gets that kill, has used the rest of the charges. Andrew comes in from the side, gets that 1-for-1 in the midst of this fight. This is incredibly messy, but Jinx will be flashing away. Ladjuskro survives, but there's the flash into the Dragon Strike from Frederick. The 2-for-2 so far. Svenny follows up, make that a 3-for-2, an advantage for Ascension. Now Ryder was the last remaining member looking for this chase. They can't get in range.
The Nar-Jarvan combination only works if you manage to stack the two ultimates on top of each other, and they were so far away at the beginning of that engage. Nar died without Jarvan and getting anywhere near to the fight, and Ascension get a good fight when they knew that the composition just was not in place for Giants. And this is a bold play, however, because there is not a lot of damage that's going to come from these two champions. And look at the rest of Giants heading already towards the dragon. Yes, they don't have the smite there, but Whirlybeat is going to have a lot of damage to harass here, and they may be able to pick up a fight at the tail end of this dragon.
Yeah, this is going to be tight, and it's going to be a 50-50 on who picks up the dragon as well. This is beginning to get very messy. There comes the steal coming in from Frederick. A great start to this one. A 1-0. XPeppy has been caught out by Mister, and he will get dropped here in turn. That goes for a 1-for-2, but more importantly, Giants secure the dragon.
A brilliant steal, and that's what I was talking about, is Frederick had enough time to even get to the dragon, so they didn't have to just clean up at the end. They just take the objective for themselves, and Giants have a really nice lead here with a better composition for the mid-game.
Giants trying to take away this blue buff as well, and this is an aggressive play, but an aggressive play that's probably going to work out just a little bit better than that aggressive play onto the dragon coming out by Ascension. As a bold move, did not pay off. Now they are still falling behind in this game. 3,500 gold is no small total at 12 minutes into the game.
It really is not. And take a look at the AD carries. We just highlighted Adri picking up, pushing up in that bottom lane, I should say. And look at the farm differential, but the engage.
Frederick comes into the mid lane, uses the flag and drag. Mr. comes in as well. Will be landing his E, heading into this engagement, but we do have the Maokai coming in from the side, but Angelus collapses in from the bottom lane. Tidaway will be splitting them up. They get the first kill onto Rydell, looking for the second onto X-Peppy. The Super Mega Death Rocket flies through, but doesn't manage to connect onto any of the members. Aggressive play, but good timing push by Ascension.
Yeah, it is a good timing push, but Nara is nearly in the fight. Frederick doesn't have his ultimate, though, but is it enough if he can build a rage meter?
He's nowhere near it, though, and isn't in the right place to be using the ultimate regardless. However, Ascension do back off, so it wasn't enough just having his presence there to repel them from the tower.
You cannot underestimate the presence that Nara is going to have in the team fight. Even if you're up against a tower or a small wall, just one big push will swipe them into the stun.
Well, Flezev has been caught out here. Culling comes across. Has the charm onto X-Peppy, and he will be dropping a 1-for-1. Both mid laners exchange. Another great bubble by Angelus. Will be securing another kill.
He's
going to
transform.
Is almost at his ultimate. Here comes the crunch. Wallop comes down. Does not land, but there's the ultimate. Slammed against the wall, and he just needs one more ultimate. Angelus secures that one, so a 3-for-2 in advantage to Ascension. But what a messy engagement underneath the turret.
Ascension will take these, though. They have the slightly worse composition, but in these scrappy engages over time, Ascension are getting the better of it. And that is just Giants letting go of focus on their composition here. Maybe they're not used to running this setup. It is very infrequent that teams will get both Jarvan and Na. I still want to say Narvan. It's very infrequent you'll get both, so it's not often you get to practice it. And if you haven't practiced something, and you pull it out in an important game and you're not balancing your crowd control and ultimates during team fights properly, it is difficult to get the consistency fight after fight after fight.
But if history repeats itself, last game laning phase went to Giants. Then there was a lapse in concentration where it looked like Ascension were getting back into the game. They didn't make any proactive plays like what is happening right now, Stress. So do we have the same game that we had last time around go from here? That's the question.
And we'll see if we have an answer for that in the coming minutes, because if history does repeat itself, you have to feel like Giants are going to find their groove a little time soon. But it is all still to play for. It's still 1-0, and Ascension are starting to get their way back in this game. It's gone from about 4,000 gold difference to just over 1,000. The stun lands in the middle lane, but no real follow-up here from Giants. Let's take a quick look at the wards and vision across the map, because again, neither team is really all that confident in putting deep wards into their opponent's jungle, and I have to feel like this is kind of slowing down a bit of the aggression when ahead.
It is, but it definitely seems like this is the playstyle from both of these teams. They just don't apparently like to go for those aggressive wards, or even super defensive wards either. They like the wards where they are.
Now, they're building up for this next team fight. Look at how high Whirlybee is keeping his rage meter. They're going towards a turret. That's an objective he can combo off with his ultimate. And this is good team fight setup here by Whirlybee. But is it too late? Just holds it before he transforms.
97 rage, so he's very, very close to transforming. This is maybe showing the cards, though. They will know he's very close to heading into that Rage Gene passive. But this is very intense, because this could very quickly reach breaking point, but it will be Mr. going for the engage. Uses the ultimate, but here's the crunch. Wallop comes out. Big stun! Lands the stun onto 3 members, but this is again underneath the turret. He will be dropping a 2-for-0. Mr. somehow managed to escape from the fight, and they look to chase down Giants. Either way, it's a 2-for-0, and this is a great fight for Ascension once again.
Big stun comes out, but he flashed forward to get the stun. Remember, Gnar combos off player-created terrain. Cataclysm is still available for Frederick. They are not using this composition to its strength, and it is causing them to fall apart in these team fights.
Tower goes down, everyone rushes away from the turret from Ascension, and you have to feel stressed. Was this the biggest mind game play of the century? Where they're like, okay, you take Gnar and Jarvan, we actually know you don't play this combination, but it's there and you have to take it.
That's a dangerous mind game to play. I'm going to be honest. That is such a tricky thing if you can make that work for your team. I wouldn't say that intrinsically Ascension picked a composition that can deal with the combination well.
Yeah.
I would pin it more down to Giants just not being used to playing it, because you don't need to flash like that. On Gnar, you have a gap close. You have a teammate that creates a stun essentially for free for you. And then you have disengage. Here's the engage.
Here's the engage by Frederick. He uses the ult pick, lands the Cataclysm, a stun onto 2 members. Angelus will be jumping away. Mister, he doesn't have flash. He took Ghost, but he will
Zap
be able
lands.
to retreat back to his team. Zap will be landing here, follow with the auto attack. Mister is still very aggressive on critical HP, but again, somehow he escapes from the engagement. He is just a master of getting away from a dire situation. Whirly B is trying to get into range. No one drops from Ascension, but everyone is fairly low off the back of that fight.
I have to wonder how much Whirly B has had an opportunity to play Gnar. I mean, look at his build right now. It's a mix of everything that's going towards a Frozen Mallet, which is not the best first item on Gnar. It is an item we've seen picked up a couple of times, but on Gnar, you really want to build some sense of health and a Black Cleaver at some point as well. That typically is what we've seen a lot of. We've seen a lot of kind of Sunfire Cape, we've seen Randuins with that Black Cleaver as well to, you know, get some damage, use that percent damage on the 3rd stack from his W. But he's not tanky enough to lead the charge into these team fights, and he's getting dropped very quickly, and you have to feel, is it going to happen again here as we kick this fight off?
Oh, Angelus has been caught up by the Scout of the Week, and Unleashed Power will drop him where he stands. Adri will be following up with the culling just to zone him away from the Dragon Pit. Rather, Giants were able to take that one away, plus the kill, and now they're looking to pressure the middle lane. In fact, pings go into the bottom lane.
Yeah, I think bottom lane is the best objective to look towards here. It's the furthest point right now from Giants, from Ascension, and Giants can pretty much take this down somewhat uncontested if they're fast about it. Doesn't look like Ascension actually want to contest this. So they get the Dragon, they get a turret, and that will kickstart their lead once again.
So Giants take a lot away from that engagement. They are 1,000 gold on pretty much everyone, but almost 3,000 gold for Lucian. He will be able to finish off a huge item here. There is the Infinity Edge and the Ghostblade completed, a gigantic power spike for him.
Yeah, that is massive, and we talked about how he had the Brutalizer earlier. I'm glad to see he did opt for that Infinity Edge in the end, because that is so much of Lucian's damage during team fights, getting that double shot from that passive, making sure that you have just so much damage on targets. But yeah, that Ghostblade is a crucial part as well for the wave clear using the culling. But Ascension are on the aggressive stance right now, but they're going to get cut out.
Again, Analyst is the first one to drop here. There is the Cataclysm, but that'll be used to finish him off, so they won't have the turn into Gnar ultimate. There's a 1-for-1, the mid laner exchange. This is actually a better team fight here for Ascension. They have to now try and play damage controls. Whirly B isn't his ultimate, doesn't land the wallop onto anybody, but Legiskuro has to get away from this fight. They are just playing the disengaged game. Whirly B, there's the ultimate onto Flezzer. Jump over the wall, the flank and drag. Legiskuro gets the shutdown onto Jarvan, so a 2-for-2 so far, and Whirly B is still on the aggression. Boomerang toss doesn't quite clip him.
He doesn't, and I'm glad to see that Legiskuro doesn't turn around and try and land the zap there. He could have tried to kite, but it's difficult to get away from Gnar if he can catch that boomerang on the return. But Giants managed to turn a dire situation into their favor somewhat there. They get a turret from it and force Ascension back from the aggressive stance.
And it feels like no matter how much you talk about how you feel the next team fight is going to go, it always goes in the opposite direction when we get into these fights. It's never how you predict it's going to go. So incredibly scrappy, to use one of the words you've coined, Stress, that these teams, well, can't really predict how the fights are going to go. They're all over the place.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that... okay, I'm completely lost on what Whirlybee is doing here. I'm guessing it's going towards the Trinity Force, because otherwise he's building all sorts of crazy items, but delaying your first completed item this long into the game is not a very solid strategy. You want each completed item to kind of be a big spike in your either damage or resistances, unless you're so far ahead that you can kind of afford to build pieces here, because I don't feel like he's getting enough stats from things like just a Giant's Belt on its own or just a Phage. They don't give the most amount of combat stats compared to a completed Trinity Force or a completed health item. So he's kind of just getting a mixed bag and going into team fights and not having much luck.
In the bottom lane, Mr. is waiting in the wings with Laduscaro. Maybe trying to get this kill onto Lucian here. And Ascension are moving the rest of the lineup into the bottom lane. Are you looking to make some sort of power play? Sven as well heads into this bot lane, but everyone is converging on this location, even from the Giants lineup. It's going to be the 3 versus 3. The bottom tower should be falling here with not too much contest, but there's the stun going on to the whole
too
lineup.
Much damage.
And this is a lot of damage coming through. Adri is following up as well.
Here comes
Can they pin them down? Here comes Whirlybee. He's actually fairly close. They're getting his ultimate off. The Mister takes this opportunity to initiate. And again, this is all over the place. The Giants are all together though, but there's the Cataclysm. The back line has been separated from the front, and the 3 for 0 for Giants. A perfect fight for them.
Far too aggressive out of Ascension. They face tank a turret for too many shots and just end up getting cleaned up from that fight. Dragon still not spawning for a little while means Giants can turn their attention possibly to an inner turret in the middle lane.
Mr. may be caught out here by Frederick, who will go for the flag and drag, then turns around and his team isn't anywhere near. Now they're arriving, but they will look to try and seize this middle lane. I guess there's no one to contest it, but everyone is very low from Giants.
But the Giants' push is just so strong right now between Lucian, between Gnar, everybody there. Once that standard is out for that extra attack speed means they can just chunk that turret down. And Giants going from strength to strength here. 23 minutes into the game, they are looking to be in a great position.
Yeah, and they have a 6,000 gold advantage over Ascension at this stage in the game. That's being converted into even more items. Aegis picked up, Trinity Force now completed by Gnar, which is a curious pickup because you don't usually see damage items picked up this early by Gnars.
It's curious to a degree, because there are players doing this on Gnar. It's perhaps not the most common build, and the efficiency of the build in competitive is somewhat untested, as we haven't seen a lot of Gnar being picked. We've seen a lot of it banned because of his strength in solo queue. But Trinity Force, I would say, is a solid item, depending on your playstyle as Gnar. If you want to be tanky, if you want to jump in, probably not the best item, but if you want to deal a lot of damage, sure, Trinity Force can be an option to go to.
Ascension here, that's the charm onto Frederick, but Flezef, I'm not sure if you caught that right there, but did pop his ultimate. We've got very, very skittish around Frederick just landing a flag on top of him. Lots of vision coming down towards left and right, and it will be Giants once again starting off the Dragon here. Whirlybee transforms into Mega Gnar. That signals that Ascension will be backing off here, not making any aggressive play. And they are falling further and further behind. This is starting to approach to around 8,000 gold. And Flezef flashes away, so doesn't have his ultimate or flash next time he gets caught out.
Flash for flash traded though. Mister is on his own red. He's been spotted out.
Maybe caught out here by Giants. Can't quite get in range just yet, but they will happily take away the red buff. Adri will be running away with this one. And now they head into the top lane. This is a tower all out on its lonesome, and this should be an easy pickup for Giants. I'd be surprised if Ascension decide to fight over this, though.
I would be surprised, as the ultimates are all available for Giants, and Ascension have to know that. They're looking for a pick from the side, though, but they aren't going to get it. This positioning is too good for Giants.
So, again, another tower going the way of Giants. 2 towers over their opponents of Ascension. And in terms of items, definitely further ahead. Here comes a culling for some harassment, but there will be a huge onslaught of shadows onto the team. Big Bubble onto 3 players. Will he be again on the back lines, but again tanking the turret?
Ascension.
Super Mega Death Rocket lands the first kill, lands the second kill. This is cleanup time for Lejuskaro. Picks up the triple, looking for his Quadra. He does land the last crit. Zap comes through, and a Quadra and a 5 for 1. Huge turnaround for Ascension.
That is the strength of Maokai. So much damage was mitigated during that team fight, and Ascension were once again able to split Giants up. Cataclysm is still available for Frederick, and that is becoming unforgivable in these team fights. That is their bread and butter with this composition, and you are not utilizing it to your strengths, Giants. You have to get that composition working for you, because you have just pretty much lost all momentum in this lead.
And this Hecarim pick is starting to pay dividends for Ascension. This has been the last couple of team fights, and Onslaught of Shadows has set them up perfectly. And right out of the bus, that was completely unexpected from the lineup of Giants. That results in the Baron, that results in a 5 for 1, and just an insane gold swing coming out from Ascension, being that there's only less than 3,000 gold in it now.
The story of this series so far has been getting Jinx fed and cleaning up team fights, which is what we saw all the way through Jinx's period of play through 2014 season. A lot of the teams were getting so many kills on Jinx that she just became unstoppable, and in both games of this series, that has been the case. I would perhaps put to these teams that a Jinx ban, if this goes to games 3, might be a good idea.
Yeah, it just seems like that random factor that they don't want to be keeping on the table. Ascension now, heading into the bottom lane with that shiny Baron buff. What can they do with it, though? Yes, they have evened up the gold totals, and now they are actually leading in kills for all that matters in this game. Their AD carry, for sure, is in a very good position with 2 major items, plus that BF sword on top of them.
Ooh, the ping went down defensively, because look at how Giants postured in this mid lane. And take a look at the itemization on Adri. Has picked up that Bloodthirster for the extra shield. He's going to be more difficult to kill in these fights. But they didn't have to back off anymore. Ascension now pressuring this bottom lane. They see that Whirly is just timing out from Mega Gnar. So his potency in this team fight is going to be severely reduced, and Ascension are going to take this opportunity to look towards that bottom tower.
They're chipping away at that inner turret here. Giants have moved into the bottom lane to contest. We're just waiting for this minion wave to arrive, but Ascension, first time in the game, are on the aggression. They are in the driver's seat, trying to make an impact, trying to take away an objective, but so far the minion wave, or the wave clear, is huge from Giants.
Nami is taking a very dangerous path down to this engage as well, and that's the other part of their team that they're waiting for here. Ascension don't want to go in 4v5. They know that they've managed to get Giants into a good situation in a couple of these team fights. They need the disengage from Nami, though, to be able to kite back with Jinx. And now they have the team set up that they want here. Now they're going to be able to siege this turret, but the wave clear is pretty strong here.
They are finding it very difficult to get this tower down, but they are slowly chipping away at it. A couple minion waves more, and they will manage to take it down. But this is taking such a long time. The Golems have respawned, and their Baron buff is starting to whittle down. And that's all that Giants need to do. They just need to hang on, wait out, weather the storm, and they'll be in a much better situation.
I've just given you a slight peek at the setup here from Hecarim. I thought he was looking to go into the fight. Here he comes from the side.
From behind, they go for this fight. They should be away from the turret. Tidal Wave comes across. The AD carry gets deleted. And now there's a huge ultimate coming in from Mega Gnar. But they do not have any damage behind them, and Ascension pick up the turret and now move towards this inhibitor turret.
Adri is down. That's a big part of their wave clear that is missing here, and Ascension, with the tail end of their Baron buff, look for an inhibitor turret.
The stun lock is massive onto Mister. Gets the wallop, and they do repel them temporarily. Lucian is still down for the count, however, but they will move into the middle lane and just take the safer option of the next outer turret.
Much better option here for Ascension. This is a far easier turret to take than an inhibitor turret. And Ascension are about to have a little bit of a relax point in their aggression. They have to back away once this Baron buff is down. They don't have quite as much in the way of map control as they would like to be able to pressure inhibitor turrets right now. So we are going into a little bit of a slower period, and that means Giants will have some time to regain some vision here.
Now on to this Dragon. Whirly B gets hit up by the charm from Flazef, jumps over the wall.
That's
Is it
aggressive.
Mega Gnar? He doesn't have his ultimate though. They do have Cataclysm, and will they choose to go for this engagement? Here's the engage from Sven here, using the twist to advance to get onto the back lines. Dragon goes down, this time again to Giants. They get the steal. Super Mega Death Rocket comes across, a 1-for-1 on both of the junglers. AD carries are trading blows, and looks like these guys will be disengaging, so jungler for jungler, but again, Frederick gets away with the Dragon.
He does, but is the positioning for Giants good enough here? Monsoon used to heal the team. That strikes to me they're going to look for an aggressive push, but there's nothing available to push. Yes, it's a fairly low cooldown at this point in the game, but that is a big cooldown used. Should have Ascension would have looked for an engage. However, they won't. Both teams are going to disengage from each other, and Giants are going to establish some control here. So in that team fight, we once again saw Frederick and Whirly B were not close enough to each other to make their composition work for them, and I am becoming a very broken record saying that. But I'm going to say it every time it doesn't happen, because it's a massive factor in this game.
We actually haven't seen it a single time.
No.
We have not seen a Cataclysm Gnar ultimate into each other. They picked it knowing the composition and the combo, but have never actually used it in a team fight.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I have a feeling the viewers are going to be saying that we are just making things up. It's not a very strong combination, but trust me. Wow, that was a little bit of a misread. Frederick just took that. I think it was with the Elder Lizard. That's actually a really significant point here, because when Ascension start to siege up, Scatter the Weak is a big factor when it comes to denying the aggression of the sieging team. And the blue buff, obviously extra mana, and the extra cooldown is so good for Xpepi for actually stopping the siege here. So that's a miscommunication that could be very costly.
Yeah, if Ascension go on the aggressive again, Baron in 30 seconds, you have to feel it's the next point of contention though. Whirly B hops forwards, gets some damage onto Mister. And there's a Cataclysm onto Angelus, trying to get a pick here. He will flash away. And at this stage in the game, I mean, yes, there is a flash, but you have to question whether Cataclysm is a little more important with the Baron imminent.
And I would answer that with yes, it is. Just straight up, I would answer that with Cataclysm in a team fight composition that depends on Cataclysm is a very, very useful tool to have. I mean, it's the same as using a Rumble ultimate before an engage to try and kill one person around an objective. It's that kind of level of importance to me in this kind of composition.
But you have to actually use that combination for it to be useful. Baron has now spawned, and neither team actually decide to dance around it. They will head back into the mid lane, maybe start the siege game again. Ascension move into the jungle, trying to get the vision control down. Interestingly enough, Ascension have not all opted towards the red trinket and the blue trinket 34 minutes into the game. Yeah,
that's a bit of a lapse in read of the game here. I mean, it's something we've seen just consistently since Worlds is by the 25-minute mark, you should be set up. But here's the setup for the gank by Mister.
And again, Mister comes in from behind, uses the ultimate, comes in and gets the fear down. But Xpepi also gets taken up by the charm. They pick up the middle laner. This is looking like a good team fight, but Sven gets dragged into the base. They take down Frederick as well. The ultimate lands onto 4 members, but still, there is no one behind him. This is the repeating story all the way through the game. 3-for-1, and what can they take away from this?
They're going to go to Baron because they don't have the minion wave quite yet. Blue Trinket goes down, but they're not pushing him mid turret. There's only one place they're going, so I guess that's just confirming the vision on that one. This is going to be a fairly easy Baron for Ascension to take. The culling is not available to deal damage from afar, so Rydell and Adri are going on a one-way trip should they look to contest this.
2 versus 4, but do they have enough poke? He just needs to get in range to try and deter them. I mean, Mister is very low, but this is extremely close, and they back off. So Baron will be going over to Ascension. Big power play.
Yeah, second one of the game here for Ascension, and this could result in the first inhibitor going down. That's going to be the place they siege next, but I like this play. Very smart of Ascension to read. Yes, okay, they're going to get the regeneration, but they're all sitting on a fair amount of gold right now. and they need to make sure they buy up any last important items before they look to siege.
I still cannot decide whether Ascension are complete geniuses or are insane. Because
Well, there is a fine line between genius and insanity.
it's true, but letting that composition go through, yes, it's not working out for Giants, but did they know that? Hecarim's working out in this composition perfectly. Engage after engage gets set up for them. Every team fight has really just gone their way by superior positioning and engages. You just have to wonder, was this pre-planned by Ascension? And if it was, they are geniuses.
Someone has Jat's crystal ball if this was pre-planned by Ascension. If you could plan that your opponents weren't going to land their composition time and time and time again. I mean, to be honest, I'm starting to believe perhaps Ascension were just like, yeah, give it to them. Because we can beat them even when they've got a very strong comp. Because, I mean, remember, these guys qualified through Nordic East who, typically, if you look at past results, if you look at history in black and white alone, Nordic East teams have not been able to compete as well with the EU West teams when we come to a promotion tournament. We've always seen good performances, but Ascension are looking a lot stronger in this game than Giants are.
Seems like they're going to be breaking the mold here in this series for sure. And they have absolutely evened up the goal total. It is now dead even. And with the Baron buff, you can firmly say they're ahead in this game now, as they look to try and take away this inner turret, the last inner turret from Giants in this second game. Remember, this will even up to 1-on-1 in this series, and yes, they need to take another game away from them, but if they're able to consistently out-position and out-think Giants, then they're in a good place to try and take it away this series.
Flezeth is doing something a little bit optimistic by pushing in that middle lane. Yes, he has Spirit Rush available, but you're a big part of the damage of your team. Yeah, okay, you've got a 10 and 2 Jinx, who is pretty good at dealing damage, but if Jinx falls, you need the extra damage from Ahri, so not often do you see an Ahri in a solo lane split pushing like this.
Maybe he's just assuming he can one-on-one anyone who comes over to him, but they did quickly send Na and Syndra to try and deal with that minion wave, but that has left the top lane a little bit vulnerable. Now they will be trying to chunk this down as fast as possible. Duskro not getting in range with the minigun, just making sure he chips away at it with Mr. Fishbones. So he's at maximum range, but now they've just given up the ghost. They head back to the next turret. They decide this turret is not worth it.
That was a hard-fought turret, though, as well. That soaked up a long duration of that Baron buff. Only about an eighth of the buff actually remains here. And Ascension really have to use this. They have a big wave pushing in towards the bottom lane, towards that inhibitor turret, but they're going to struggle because there is a fair amount of wave clear here on Giants. The culling is available once again, so that'll deter the next push here, and should, I imagine, be used on this bottom lane wave.
Well, the crucial part now is for Ascension to break this inner ring of turrets. These inhibitor turrets really will signal whether they can finish off the game, because from here it could stalemate for a long time if Giants are able to wave clear before the minion wave hits the turret.
And it's a lot more difficult for Ascension to get their composition to work in front of an inhibitor turret because they don't really have the option to flank with Hecarim that they've been using all game long. So this is more about the upfront damage that they can do and chipping down over time, as you alluded to. So Ascension have their work cut out here, and this is going to be a slower pace here, but slowly but surely, Flezeth is starting to take it. Cataclysm!
Cataclysm onto Flezeth, but he has his ultimate. There we go. Spirit Rush will be used, and this big team fight ultimate is exchanged for Ahri's. Middle turret, though, you take a look at it, and he's been doing work on that turret. It is almost dead. They just need to make one strong push, and it'll fall over.
I mean, if you're Flezeth, you just won the jackpot on that one. You managed to trade the team fight ult for the escape ult when you still have flash available. So, I mean, Flezeth was just aiming for anything.
Frederick has been caught out in the jungle. There's the bubble from Angelus, and he has nowhere to go. But he will flank and drag away. This will be using the ultimate from Mister. He doesn't land it. Frederick uses the flank and drag and the flash. I said he has nowhere to go, but I guess that's an escape option. They did use a lot of ultimates on that. Yes, they took away the dragon, but that must have spooked Frederick for sure.
Oh, you have to feel if Ascension could have got that kill, they could have looked to close this game out. But this is a pretty crazy game. That has been the word to describe this game ever since pick 1 of Picks and Bans. Crazy. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly Ascension's brilliance or
insanity.
I kind of want to say leaving themselves open with completely ridiculous setup for Picks and Bans. But you know what? I'm enjoying it. I'm going with this game. Who knows? Apparently leaving Nar open is a fine thing to do these days.
Apparently, but you take a look at the items all across the board, and from this Hecarim, he's not opted towards that Trinity Force, which you sometimes see from that pick, but what he has gone for is the Iceborne Gauntlet.
What I want to know is, okay, I guess he does have hands to wear a gauntlet. That was going to be my next thing, should it be like hooves?
Maybe. You need 4 of them, though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, is that extra item efficiency?
I don't know. Maybe you should buy 2.
I don't think it works like that, folks. Oh, dear. It's getting quite into this game now. 42 minutes in. We're into the late game. We've made it.
And Ascension are saying they've made it, but not quite yet. They have one more hurdle to go. Mister, can he get one more good Onslaught of Shadow? There's been 3 or 4 in a row now, which has decided the team fight before it's even really begun. He needs to make it the 4th or 5th time heading into this next fight.
And they've dragged Giants out of their base. That is a great position for Ascension. Now they can get the flank using that Onslaught of Shadows that is going to come from Hecarim, and he's looking for it here, but the rest of the team aren't quite in position. You can see they're just angling for it. Ooh, it's tense moments here.
Well, Whirly B is the one to zone him away, heads into his Mega Form, Boulder Toss comes through, but they just need to wait for him to calm down, go for that timeout, and then he won't be able to transform again in a short while.
Whirly B transforming is just the key right now for Giants. And Ascension are just going to wait it out every time. I mean, Flezith is looking for an engage here. I don't think he's going to find it. He'd have to use a lot here and risk the counter-engage coming out. But Ascension have waited this out. Baron is available once again. But they haven't really created the pressure to get the Baron anytime soon.
Naduskuro sitting on basically full items. What he could do next is pick up a Zephyr, but that's all he could do from here. He is almost item capped, but Mister, has he been caught out? Not just yet, just get chunked a little here. Hecarim still fairly tanky and does have the healing from Angelus, so over time he will be back in fighting shape. Whirly B has been locked into transforming, but yet he goes for the engagement, doesn't land it on anyone. Here comes the crunch, here comes the Nara ultimate, lands onto 3 people. Here's the combo they were looking for, but Redding, here comes the Cataclysm onto Laduscro. He's not able to get out of this ring, but he does manage to take down his aggressor. That being said, Adri comes in with the kill, a 3-for-1. It's so late into the game. Could they do anything off the back of this, like take down the rest of the base? This is a 4-for-1. They're chasing down Angelus, but it's only to support, teleport into the bottom lane. Is it long enough for them to head into the base and clean up the game?
They've got 40+ seconds on the cooldowns for 2+ champions here on Ascension, and it was going so well. Ascension with an unorthodox composition, maybe. Giants have just done enough. They've been very sloppy with their composition all game long, but even so, there is the potency of Nara in the team fights. He gets the 3-person stun, and that ultimately will allow Giants to advance.
It was only a matter of time, but this game goes to a 2-0 for Giants. And as you mentioned, all of that progress that Ascension managed to make, all thrown out the window by one last engage that just didn't go their way.
I really feel for Ascension after that game. That was hard fought, and props to them for holding on and giving away such strong picks. But I guess if we needed an example of why Nara is banned, you can miss however many composition, team fights that you want to miss. Land one, and you win the game.
This is the case study. You can literally miss everything, land one, you win the game. At 45 minutes, all of those team fights that Ascension won, every little bit of ground that they managed to edge in, all undone.
Man, and yeah, as soon as they got to the inhibitor turrets, they had nowhere to go with their composition because Hecarim wasn't able to flank. They couldn't push in. They were trying this weird split push with Ahri in the middle lane, and it just couldn't work out for them. But, I mean, I think from that they can hold their heads up high.
They can indeed, and yes, it was a 2-0, but it was not a short 2-0 for sure. They put up a fight, and yeah, they looked incredibly strong for sure. Either way, guys, we will be jumping to a quick break, and when we get back, we'll be back with the next round.